Coming up on today's episode. Now, what we're here for today is back on the Ranger and its components. We're going to basically take apart this and see if we can't outline our wiring a little bit better. You can see a green and a blue wire there. And what we need to do is get all this apart. And these obviously are going to need some lengthening. And that's what we're going to do. Take that rubber band off, get all the power wire separated. And it looks to me like if I'm going to flash up the legend for these wires, and we'll see if we can't tell what's what from that. And so I think that's the way to go from here. And looks like these screws here just go down and hold this heatsink or whatever this is here. But I think that splits there at the thing. I do believe, and there's a screw there. I think that might be a separation. I don't know for sure, but it looks like it is. Let's take it apart and see what happens, and then we'll go from there. Let me do that, and I'll come right back. All right, back once more. Kind of want to point out some things here. This, as you can see, is how well you can tell from the image there, but that insulation is melted from around that wire there. So obviously there's a problem there. I did manage to get the black ground wire out of the loop or loom here thing. I can't get this off here. These four screws, 1, 2, 3, 4. I got one of them out, but the rest of them will not come out. And so I just put it back in. I decided to go ahead and take each wire out separately, and we'll rewire it and do what we have to do. And then if nothing else, we can put a rubber grommet back in here to take the place of that and get that out of the way. But my main concern, again, is this obviously this got hot to melt the insulation like it did. And I think that's a black wire. I can't tell. It might be black or dark blue. I can't tell that way. Yeah, looks black to me. It looks like that wire right there. If I had to guess, right here is which one it looks like. Now let me get the rest of these out and out of this holder here, and we'll go from there and see if we can't tell some more about it then. Alright, we have everything out now, and as you can see, referencing the, I'm going to flash it up on the screen again if I haven't done so already. The input cables on this are black common, and that is this wire here, as far as I can tell. So that's one problem. That actually got shorted or something, you can tell. The other two wires on the inputs are blue and green, and that's these two here. Now these are not very heavy wires, as you can see. And the black is listed as ground. Now that's this heavy black one here. That's the power ground. And so you have to kind of remember, because down at the bottom there it says return all speaker leads to this unit and do not ground any speaker leads. And I don't know exactly what that means, because I think what it means is these here going to the actual speakers, gray and the brown on the output cables, as you can see there, have two wires on each one, and you can see there's a blue stripe on that one, and a blue stripe on that one too. I think it's blue. Can't tell, but anyway, so those indicate the ground terminals, I'm assuming, on the speakers themselves. So, like I said, the input would be, your common ground comes in from your amp to the black wire on here that melted, and the blue and the green are right and left, as outlined there. Blue is left, green is right. So that's the ones that come in there. So that's the way that works. Now, there has to be a reason why this insulation melted on this. So we need to figure that out first. Now, whether or not something is shorted, like the outputs of this, I don't know. It's anybody's guess at this point. About all we can do is, hook it up and try it. See what happens. Obviously repair this black wire first. But I mean, I don't see anything else that we could do as far as making this usable again. Either this is going to work or it's not going to work, one of the two. Just looking at the board, doesn't look like any resistors are burning like that. So, anybody's guess on that. Again, all that can be reached in the bottom, though. I mean, you have access to the bottom to replace anything that you need to replace. And again, I'm looking at that bottom there. I can't tell. That might actually be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pins on that. That's a chip. That's not just a. That's not a transistor. So that may be a problem, replacing that if we need to. Now these things are pretty cheap on eBay. Of course, you never know what you're getting, a pig in a poke every time you buy one, because none of them say they work. They just say is what it is, and let's go from there. So, but like I said, is what it is exactly right. So I think first step of what I want to do here is to get this black wire back and in order, and lengthen all three of the wires, the black wire and the green and the blue wire, to where they'll come back out of here on the back and be able to be hooked up. And I think that's the first order of business that we should take care of, and that's what we're going to do. Alright, we are back on the Audiovox Sound Exploder amplifier, and what we're doing now is there are some confusing things going on here on this switch with the way they're marked. Now, the green wire, if we look at our wiring diagram on the screen there, green is the right input, and I have a clip lead, and the other end is attached to the meter lead, and we are checking the continuity. Now, with the switch out, which is in the out position right now, we should get in our right output, which is this gray wire, and I believe it's going to be the striped wire is going to be the positive lead for that. And if we check that, you see we do have continuity there. So no problem with that. And I think if we check the other one, the left one, if I can get a hold of it real quick here. There it is. And go to the brown wire, also the striped wire, which kind of hard to see, but it is that middle one there, or the inside one. And we can see it does the same thing. It has continuity. So our wiring is correct. The blue is left, the green is right, and same with the output. The brown is left, the green is, or the gray is right. So even though there's some confusing silk screen on the board, these wires are correct. In other words, if you put the correct ones, wire them up correctly according to the diagram on the screen, everything will be hunky-dory. So that's our first little thing, and I do have the black wire fixed now. As you can see, it is now fixed and in position. We're going to leave this apart just like it is for our test, and what I'm going to do basically is hook up everything as it is supposed to be on the bench here, and I will be using one of these for input. I think that's the easiest way to go about this, and like I say, we'll use now this is the one that has the 3-watt output on each channel, so this should work just fine. We'll use our 5-volt in to power it, which I have conveniently on the bench here, and that will work fine as well. So that's how it's going to be hooked up. And once we do that, what I'm going to do is to leave it off first. Obviously, we know we have a pass-through on the when it's off, so it should just come through normally with the system off. Now, in order to test the power amplification of it, I'm going to hook it up to the 12-volt of the BK970 on 12 volts, but I'm planning to power the BK970 through the variac so I can bring up the voltage slowly, and also keep an eye on the amperage coming out of the AC, so if there's something shorted we can tell that right away. Also, I plan to put a inline meter with the power wire there, and we'll monitor the voltage going into it as well, and that way we can, if there's a short or something like that, because that wire melted for some reason on that black wire, and now as all I've checked here, I found no indications there's any problems with the board, with the chips. I checked the chips getting power. They have power going to them as far as the traces are concerned. In other words, this is common with the power input of each chip, and the negatives are common as well. The negative goes to the negative points on the chip, and I was able to identify the chip, and I don't know if I even said that or not, but these are I think Kia 7205P, I think is the number. I'll put it up on the board for sure, or on the screen. And I believe they're the same as the Toshiba 7205 or TA 7205P, and I think they're the same exact chips. Obviously, this being made in Korea, these are Kia chips, so that would be the difference there. Korea and China and Japan, for that matter, are all the same way. They pretty much copy whatever is in vogue at the time or whatever, and use their own methods to manufacture, and that's fine, for them. That's no problem. But like I said, this is how this was done, and those two chips there, are the only active components, I should say. Other than there's 3 diodes right here. I don't know how we can see those, but there are 3 diodes, and I'm going to check those too for making sure none of those are shorted. Now, if one of those would short, probably that would cause some problems as well. But I'm going to check those 3, and like I said, I've already checked. There's no problem that I can see as far as the heat-related problems with the chips. They are, and fine. The traces are fine. All of your passive components here seem to be okay. There's nothing burnt. There's no burnt resistors. And that's generally what you would see with a short, is a burnt resistor. So that's what we're going to do. So stay tuned for that. Hi, we are back once again. What I've got here, there are 3 diodes on there, as I pointed out right before the end of the last segment. And those 3 diodes are right here. 1, 2, 3, and it's the other end there. Now, there are some differences. They are all going exactly the same place. They go between this trace here and this trace here. Now, I'm pretty sure this trace here is ground, and I think this is the power. And I think these are reverse to guard against reverse connection of the power. That's my opinion. But the funny thing about it is, and it's not really funny, but but what it boils down to is this: I think they should all be the same, because they look the same. But this one on the end, right here, is different. Now these two measure just exactly like diodes usually measure, and that's no voltage going one way and 1/2 volt or so going the other way. That's normal. This one measured the 1/2 volt, but then going the other way, it measured 1 volt. So I think that's not exactly right. So that one's going to get pulled, and we're going to replace it if I've got one. I'm pretty sure I do. I think they're just regular power diodes. And let me do that real quick. I'll pull it out while the iron heats up, and we'll get that done, and we'll bring you back. All right. Well, what I was planning on doing was to use the this here to test the 40-watt sound exploder Audiovox, but this is not going to work because it does not use a common output for the speakers. It has, each one of the speakers are connected independently, and they have to stay that way because I tried connecting them together just to see what happened, and the unit says battery low, recharge, and stops working. So obviously, and it makes some noises too when I do that, so obviously they're not meant to be connected together at all. There is two, I've looked at the back of the circuit board on here, and there is two independent power amplifiers, audio amplifiers, what do you want to call it, on there. So that's not going to work for that, but we can still check it with one channel at a time, I guess. If you know, that's better than nothing, I suppose. I think this is the best way to test it. For one thing, I want to test the pass-through on it and see if that works. And for the other thing, I just want to see if the amplification will work. So I've got it ready to go. I don't know if I even showed you that or not, but I think I did. I went ahead and put it all back together, put the grommet in. I don't know how well you can see in there to see the grommet, but there's a nice rubber grommet around there. Won't nothing touch the metal. All the wires have been extended as needed. I'm extended the green one and the blue one. The blue one is actually purple on this end, but that's okay. Got the power wire here. Got the black wire here, the power plaque. We will hook up that and see what happens. So let me try that real quick, and with it off, make sure it's off. Yes, it's off. Okay. And we'll come right back. All right, we're back once again. As I declared, we're doing this one channel at a time. So right now we have the left channel hooked up to the input and output both, if it matters. But both of the speakers are hooked up to the this here. As you can see, this is the I'm trying to think. That's the brown. That's the left right there. The right is this one here. No, I'm looking at this wrong. This is gray. So this is the right. Brown is the left. Okay, there you go. So those two are hooked up. Now, obviously, there's no power going to this unit. It is off in the off position here. If you look at that. So, and basically, we're going to try and see. We should only get something out of the left speaker because none of the well, that's the output. It doesn't really matter about that. We're just using output on one channel to test. So let's turn it on and see what we get. All right. Sure enough, it is coming out of the left. So that's working well with this in bypass mode. Let's turn that off. Make sure the other channel works, which would be the right. Now this is our common, this is our left channel, and we want to try the right channel, which is the green one here. And we'll try to turn it back on again. Yep, coming out this one up here now, so. The bypass works fine on it. So that only leaves the basically the test of the power on this, see if it works, and that's the critical part. Let me turn this off. As everybody should know, I think. So basically, we're going to power it up slowly with the speakers connected, no input into it at all. We'll disconnect all the wires from the input for our first test and make sure that everything just powers up. And it doesn't matter if it's got input to it, but I think you really need to have an output, a load on it for the speakers. So, and those are both connected. as they should be. So, alright, let me get this all hooked up and we'll go from there. Alright, I have 118 volts applied to the BK970, and it is actually, the unit here is drawing 170 milliamps with it on. The power light is on. I don't think you can see that though. Let's see, there you go, right down there. Of course, I don't hear anything out of the speakers, obviously, because I'm not using it. But it seems to be working. I'm saying it's working. It seems not to be smoking. That's a pretty good indication something's doing something. So what I'm going to do is basically hook up basically a signal to it, and we'll go from there and see what happens. So let's try that real quick. I've got this hooked up, and here's our output for it. Doesn't matter which channel we use, just one or the other right now. Let's turn it on.
Play by TF card.
It is working. Looks like the amperage going in is fluctuating all the way up to 260, 270 milliamps. Still not bad. Definitely has more volume, or wattage, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Let's try the other side real quick. Can do that fairly easily. That seems to be working as well. So I'm going to say we have a successful attempt. There's the difference. That's without the boost. There's with the boost. That's turning it down. So that worked good. Okay, I hooked up both channels to the same one coming out of here. Both of them are working.
You kept it going till the sun fell down.
Both ways they work. Seen 400 something. All right, like I said, I seen. I don't know why you guys can't see this, but there's what I'm looking at. 177 basically at idle. I seen 450 at one point with both channels hooked up to the same output from the Bluetooth, and so that makes sense. It's going to be double what the other one would be. It's just so actually both of them are being used that way. So yeah, that makes sense. And like I said, it's still not hot. It's warm. I can feel a little warmth to it. But again, not bad. Not bad at all. Let's turn that off. Instantly goes to 0 then. That's good. So what we've discovered here basically is that this does work. I'm going to turn this off as well. And turn this off. And that I was glad that worked as I planned on, because it brought the voltage up slowly, and I could monitor the look over here. I can monitor the current on the output of the AC, and I think it got up to around maybe 48 milliamps at one time. That was about the size of that. So that wasn't bad. And like I said, that worked rather well. I'm very, very happy with the results of this. And like I said, it has proven what I was wanting to prove, that the booster amp does work. And I think it works exactly the way I want it to work, as far as it doesn't overdo things. You know what I'm saying? You just want a little added boost for the wind noise, basically. Or I do anyway. And, you know, I don't think it's necessary to over... You know, some of these people drive down the road and you can hear them a mile away. Boom, 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 boom. You guys all know what I'm talking about. So it's nothing like that. It's just a nice increase in volume level over what would be the Ranger would be able to put out. And next I'm going to try it with the Ranger, and that's going to be interesting, because I want to do the whole thing, the Bluetooth, and hook it all up, and I've got the wiring and everything, so this may take a while before I get to it. But like I said, it is gonna happen. And I don't know if I showed you this or not, but this is my 6x9 cutout template that I got off the internet. And well, I've got it upside down, other than that. And I did measure this. It's supposed to be an inch going each way, and it is exactly an inch. So this is perfectly to scale. And what my plan is to do, I will put this on top of a piece of card. Well, actually, I'll cut this out first, the inside of the where the speaker sound comes through, and then we'll mount this onto a piece of cardboard, and I'll trace that out with a marker around there, and then I'll cut that out, and at the same time I'll put holes for the speaker itself as far as the mounting, and we'll be able to cut those into the cardboard as well. Then I can take my cardboard cutout and out to the car. That's what I needed. So, alright, that's going to do it on this one here. I'm looking forward to cruising the Buick this year, and I'll take you guys along for a few rides, of course. And so once that happens, we'll all have a good old time, I think. So you guys today have a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see ya.